Speak Up for Women operates as a small leadership team with some amazing supporters, but we don't have a paid membership as such. There are also some incredible gender-critical women here in New Zealand who work off their own bat on some issues and together on others. Needless to say, the level of hostility has been and still can be eye-watering. The Speak Up for Women leadership team and the supporters who wrote letters and spoke out against sex self-ID are clearly terrible, bigoted women for not wanting men in women's spaces in sports, even those men who say they're women. Despite a High Court ruling in 2021 that Speak Up for Women could not rationally be described as a hate group, a mayoral candidate still alluded to our group being that very thing in a recent public podcast. The bill did get put on hold the first time around, but got resurrected when the Labour government got back into power in 2020, and eventually it was passed into law in December 2021. That's the bill that was passed into law. The law will actually be passed in about mid next year. During the campaign against it, we were told that a Department of Internal Affairs would conduct a statutory review of the sex self-ID law 5 years after it was passed. But recent information has revealed that it will only be a review of the processes, not the impacts. That wasn't the impression we got when the review was mentioned, so now we need to go back and see what was actually said and in what context. Meantime, initial approaches to the Department of Internal Affairs to work with them to collect stories of the impacts of sex self-ID have not exactly been received with a great idea response, so we will continue working on making further approaches there. Those aforementioned terrible, bigoted women are very much our heroines. Their campaigning and raising public awareness about the sex self-ID bill gave rise to a clause being added which amounted to saying that a birth certificate wasn't necessarily the ultimate proof of a person's sex, and that other factors could be taken into consideration. The other factors are not named, so this remains to be tested, although a beard and a male body complete with penis might possibly be considered other factors. Who knows? As I said, it remains to be tested. Speak Up for Women is currently working on providing some written clarity for service providers who appear to have been confused by our Human Rights Commission's advice about discrimination based on gender. Single-sex spaces are still allowable by law, but the waters around this have become so muddied with the conflation of sex and gender and our public service policies, both written and that which has seeped into the narrative, that confusion reigns. Not to mention the aggression from gender identity ideologues and activists who pile on anyone who strays from how they say things should be.